Hello, and welcome to the 9th episode of the M-Wire Movie Weekend Review. Today we're going to be discussing the Bourne film franchise. I am Tino and Mike, and I guess as usual I'm joined by Steve Megatron. Hello.
Howdy.
How are you?
Very well now.
Very well now? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Better than I was 20 minutes ago.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So what's been going on with you this past week?
Lots of work. Not a lot of time to do network stuff.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
Yes.
And my secondary job blows.
We'll save that for headshots.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go into detail.
Yeah, no. Good news for me. I guess it's good news. I mean, I am out of debt, but the way I had to get out of debt was I had to ask my mom, which, whatever. But, you know, at least I'm out of current debt. I don't know if... I know you probably remember. I don't know if anybody listening will remember. I remember after Christmas last year, I don't know if I said it in any of the episodes that we were doing back then or not, but I had spent like $600 at Columbia House. That's cleared. No more bill for that. So that's done.
You need to stop spending money, though.
I know it.
It's hard to do, though. I do have to admit.
Yeah.
I can't play completely innocent on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disease. But, you know, at least, you know, my mom always points out that, you know, at least I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. You know, so at least it's not like...
It's a healthy habit. It's a healthy bad habit.
Yeah, there you go. Healthy bad habit. I like that.
You're not doing any bodily harm. You're just blowing money.
Yes, exactly, and getting myself into debt. Yeah, we're probably going to have to do a headshot after this, because I know we both have tons of stuff that we have to rant on, and I still have to rant again on the whole PayPal thing, because that
may end up being the longest headshot ever.
10. Oh yeah, definitely.
The monumental number.
Yes, exactly. So I think we're going to go straight into today's topic, which, as I said before, is the Bourne film franchise. We'll be right back.
He has the skills of a dangerous man.
I need to know what went wrong.
I think he snapped.
But he has no memory.
We don't take care of this, we will both burn. It's trained, conditioned, built to disappear. I'll give you $10,000 to drive me to Paris.
I get the money, and I don't get hurt.
That's the deal.
Now, the government's top agent.
I can't remember anything that happened before 2 weeks ago.
The visa?
Yeah.
Is about to become their number one target.
What's in Paris?
It's a name, Jason Bourne.
Let's see if the Paris police can find him for us.
And the only way he can survive
Talk a lot.
is to find out who he is.
I guess you're not home. Mr. Bourne!
I don't recognize any of this.
Before they find out
Get the address. I think I got it. In his.
where he is.
Get everybody up. I want them all activated. Do it now!
What is it? Something wrong?
We can't stay here. It's not safe.
He's out of control. It's very clear what needs to happen.
Based on the international bestseller
I don't want to know who I am anymore.
from Universal Pictures,
You got to get as far away from me as you can.
What are you gonna do?
Danger
I have everything to put inside me.
is
Everything I ever learned. All of it.
Bourne.
I'm going to make it stop.
The Bourne Identity.
Hey, we are back, and as I said in the intro, today is the Bourne films. The first is the Bourne Identity. It's a 2002 spy film loosely based on Robert Ludlum's novel of the same name, and the first in 3 films in the Bourne series. It stars Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, an amnesiac who also suffers from PTSD, attempting to discover his true identity amidst clandestine conspiracy within the Central Intelligence Agency. To track him down and arrest or kill him for inexplicably failing to carry out officially unsanctioned mission, and then failing to report back afterwards. Along the way, he teams up with Marie, played by Franca Pund, I don't know how to say her last name, who assists him on the initial part of his journey to learn about his past and regain his memories. The film also stars Chris Cooper, Clive Owen, Brian Cox, and Julia Stiles. The film was directed by Doug Liman and adapted for the screen by Tony Gilroy and William Blake Herron from the novel of the same name written by Robert Ludlum, who also produced the film alongside Frank Marshall. Although Ludlum died in 2001, Universal Pictures released the film to theaters in the United States on June 14, 2002. It received positive and critical and public reaction. The film was followed by a 2004 sequel to Bourne Supremacy, and an Academy Award-winning third part released in 2007 entitled The Bourne Ultimatum. Just for the first film, right before I get into the plot, what did you think of this film so far? I mean, just like when you first heard about it.
It was actually, the first time I heard about it, it was when the third one was coming out in the theater.
God, you were so behind the curve.
Well, I mean, I hadn't seen it. It doesn't mean that I don't like it. It just means I wasn't exposed to it.
Yeah.
My dad actually mentioned it, and so when I went back to watch them all, because my dad was like, "Oh, you have to see it," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I watched it, and the first part where you see him kind of just floating in the water was just, I don't know, it was just crazy, and then to find out that he has no idea who the hell he is, and have it end up turn out that he's, some secret agent / assassin is just mind-blowing.
Oh, yes, very much so. When I don't know if I want to just go into the plot now and talk about the casting later, but we need to mention that Matt Damon is not known for being an action star. I believe this was his first exposure to being a true-on, quote-unquote, James Bond type action film star. Of course, he's most famous for writing, acting, and creating Good Will Hunting, which we will cover on M-Wire down the line here, not anytime soon, but it's on the schedule. But he and Ben Affleck won Academy Awards for that and a whole bunch of other stuff that he's done. I mean, I'm not saying that the man's career is typecast to one role, but this was something completely different than what we had seen him in previously.
And I think he did the role really well.
Oh, yes.
This is something that I would love to see more movies of. I know that there's at least 3 more books of the Bourne series.
Right.
So that would be really cool to see 3 more movies, like another trilogy, finding out what happened since the end of the third one. Yeah,
and we'll get into that once we get to the third one's discussion. So the plot for Bourne Identity: a crew of Italian fishermen find a man, Matt Damon, floating on the Mediterranean. With 2 gunshot wounds in his back, while treating the unconscious body, the ship's medical officer finds a device within the number of a safe deposit box embedded in the man's hip. The man wakes up and discovers he is suffering from retrograde amnesia. Over the next few days on the ship, the man finds he is fluent in several languages and can perform uncommon tasks such as sea navigation and tying exotic knots in the ship's ropes. But he cannot remember anything about himself, including his identity or why he was found in the ocean. When the ship docks in Marseille, he sets off for Zurich to investigate the safety deposit box. This is, I think, didn't Doug Liman, what else did he do? Oh, crap. Didn't he do Fast and the Furious, or was that somebody else? No, that was somebody else. Crap, I forget. He's done other stuff. I don't remember what what it was off the top of my head, but I remember his film style. And this opening is just an awesome introduction to the character. And it's like, it's introducing us to him, but you don't know what's going on at the same time.
Plus, it hooks you right at the very beginning, so you're like, okay, I'm confused, but I still want to know what the hell's going on. Yeah,
it's like, wait, dead body in the water? What the hell? What did you think of these this opening here?
I was really confused as to why he was laying in there and why he had like the account numbers in his hip.
Yeah.
But I thought it was neat that for some of it he remembered, and other shit he's like, I really don't have a clue about any of this stuff,
Right. Right. It definitely is a very powerful opening, and it's also very subtle as well. At the CIA headquarters in Langley, Deputy Director Ward Abbott, played by Brian Cox, finds out about a failed assassination attempt on dictator Nikwana
Wambosi.
Yeah, I know the last name. I don't know the first name. And I'm not even going to pronounce the actor's name, because yikes. Meanwhile, in Zurich, the amnesiac is approached by two police officers for sleeping in a park, and when they attempt to arrest him, he knocks them both unconscious using an advanced hand-to-hand combat. Again, these beginning scenes here are just taking you from where he is on the ship to where he gets to Marseille, to Langley, and you see Conklin, you see Abbott, and they actually, Chris Cooper and Brian Cox, they actually play very well off each other for the two roles that they actually do have.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was a really, really cool thing. The next morning, he visits the bank using the number that was embedded in his hip and opens the safe deposit box to find several passports containing his picture, all under different names and nationalities, large amounts of assorted currencies, and a handgun. He assumes the name from the first passport, Jason Bourne. He takes all the passports and money but leaves the handgun. As he leaves, the bank employee calls the CIA Black Ops Group Operation Treadstone, stating that Bourne has been sighted. Again, trying to find out who he is, and he figures out that there's a slide under part of the safety deposit box, and he finds all the money in the passports and everything else. Now, if that was me, and I didn't know who I was, I'd take the money, run, and go shopping.
Yeah, except for the fact that you don't know where it came from, and you might be hunted later.
Yeah, that's true. What did you think about the bank scene so far?
Well, I like how unsure of it he was when he walked in, and how for some reason he knew that little safe was in the bottom of the safety deposit box, the little flipboard, and he's wondering, like, who the hell, why do I have all this stuff with my picture on it, yet I don't know my real name? It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy to see how it's still unfolding, that he still doesn't remember anything, yet his body remembers specific things that he can't pull up at the top of his head.
Oh, yeah, when he took out those two police officers, I was like, whoa, what is... Because, again, this is a role that we have not seen Matt Damon in before this. I was like...
It just surprises you right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. These movies, actually all three of them, not just this one, but these movies, they keep you on the edge of your seat. After being chased by the police, Bourne escapes into the U.S. consulate, where he is again pursued by authorities. Bourne escapes and finds a woman named Marie, offering her $20,000 to take him to an address in Paris. In the United States, Alexander Conklin, played by Chris Cooper, head of Treadstone, assures Deputy Director Abbott that he will destroy any evidence connecting them to the field officer Jason Bourne, responsible for the failed assassination attempt on Wambosi. He activates 3 quote-unquote assets to take down Bourne: Castile, Mannheim, and the Professor. Now, again, as we said last week with the XXX synopsises, I understand they're supposed to be quick, but they really don't go into too much detail. On that, on the consulate scene, we open with him going in and her, Marie, arguing with one of the consulate agents at the counter about visas and passports and all this other stuff. So then they tell him to stop, you with the red bag, stop. So he ends up running. He ends up going onto a rooftop ledge and then basically throwing the bag down into the snow and basically climbing down the building is how he has to get out. What did you think of these scenes here?
Well, I know if I had to climb down a building and being chased by cops with guns, I'd be scared shitless, and I wouldn't know how I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just so awesome just to see that, and I mean, just the way that he did it. Because at first it shows that in the scene when he's actually after he's gotten off the trellis there, and he's actually on the actual side of the building, he looks over and sees a balcony, and then he just looks down, and then he just kind of, I believe he almost jumps down from ledge to ledge. So Bourne arrives at the address on his passport, and after studying the apartment, he hits redial on his phone and is connected to the Hotel Regina, who recognize one of the aliases from the British passport, John Michael Caine. They tell him that Caine died 2 weeks before in a car crash. Whilst they are at the apartment, Castile, played by Nicky Nod, attacks and an intense fight ensues. Bourne breaks Castile's leg and arm and interrogates him, but Castile remains silent. Marie finds wanted posters in Castile's bag with both her and Bourne's pictures on them and becomes hysterical. As Bourne attempts to calm her down, Castile uses the opportunity to jump out the window to his death. Marie goes into shock, and Bourne swiftly escorts her from the building. This scene, first of all, I watch, the show House Hunters on HGTV, and I watch the international version of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know that they went to the real locations for all three of these films for the most part. I'm sorry, an apartment in Paris would not be that big.
No, I'm sure a lot of it would be crowded, kind of like a Chicago apartment.
Oh, it would not be that expansive at all whatsoever. But what did you think of these scenes here, the whole apartment scene and the fight scene?
I love the fight scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool how he broke his arm, broke his leg.
Just crippled his ass and left him on the ground and, turns around for a split second, turns around, the guy's out the window and smashed on the concrete.
Yep. Curse splat. But yeah, and the greatest thing about that fight scene was you can actually hear, I'm sure it was a sound effect, but you can hear the bones breaking when Bourne breaks his arm and his leg.
Oh yeah, it's so gross sounding.
Yeah, exactly. Soon afterwards, Jason and Marie travel to a train station where Jason tells Marie to stay in the car while he stores the money in a locker. Marie disobeys and goes to buy some liquor. Jason comes back to the car to find Marie missing, but then sees her heading back from across the street. He yells at her for leaving and tries to do the right thing and convince her to go to the police to clear her name. Marie refuses. The police surround the car, and Jason makes one selfless last attempt to convince her to save herself. To prove that she will remain with him, Marie fastens her seatbelt. They get in a high-speed car chase and eventually elude the police. They park the car in a public parking garage, and Jason tells Marie that they must leave it behind because it links them to the Paris police and makes them easier to find. Then they get a room in a hotel where Jason dyes Marie's hair red hair brown and cuts it short in an effort to make them blend in more. Marie surprises Jason with a kiss, and Jason kisses her back. Yeah.
You know what happens then.
Yeah, love scene basically. What did you think of the whole scene there with her going off into the liquor store and stuff?
Well, it's just funny because he's starting to try and care for her just because he doesn't want anything bad happening to her because he doesn't know why everybody's chasing him.
Yeah.
And trying to help her not get chased as well, but yet she, for some reason, still likes him enough to hang around him.
Yes. Meanwhile, Conklin plants a body in the morgue in an attempt to fool Wombosi into thinking that Kane is dead, but Wombosi recognizes that the body is not his assailant. Using a sniper rifle, the professor, played by Clive Owen, assassinates Wombosi in his home. Bourne investigates the incident and concludes that he was an assassin prior to his amnesia. He and Marie leave the city and travel to the French countryside to stay at the house of Eamon, a friend of Marie, where Jason decides that he wants to live a normal life and no longer wants to be who he is, or who he was. In the morning, the professor comes to kill Jason Bourne using a shotgun to blow up a propane tank and cloud the view of the sniping professor. After a brief standoff in the crop field, Bourne shoots the professor twice with the shotgun and interrogates him briefly. The professor reveals their mutual connection to Operation Treadstone before he dies from blood loss. What did you think of these scenes here?
I love the fact that he blew up the propane tanks. That was just pure genius on his part.
Oh, yeah.
Although the role of the professor, I believe that's Clive Owen, isn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, he was probably the most alive out of the three assassins sent to kill Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
The most human out of them all, too, instead of just like, I'm a cannon fighter character, you know.
Yeah.
Even though he was too. But it was just kind of funny how Bourne still took him down, even though they're all supposed to be technically equal in ability. Right.
Well, I think what makes him more human out of the other two was because, you know, throughout this whole process, Bourne has these headaches, and it's because he's trying to remember stuff. And then the professor tells him that he has headaches all the time as well. So you could almost view that as a bonding experience between the two of them.
Yeah.
I guess, if you want to put it that way. So after that, Bourne sends Marie away for her own safety. She doesn't want to leave him, having fallen in love with him. He has grown attached to her as well, but he insists he contacts and meets with Conklin and plants a tracking device on Conklin's vehicle to discover the location of Operation Treadstone's safe house in Paris. After following the vehicle, he gains access to the Treadstone safe house, where Nikki Parsons, played by Julia Stiles, and Conklin are. Bourne holds Conklin and Parsons at gunpoint and begins to remember his last mission through successive flashbacks. He was on Wombosi's yacht, executing his plan to make the assassination looked like one of his own crew members had shot him. He places a gun to the back of Wombosi's head, but before he pulls the trigger, Wombosi sees him, and Bourne looks around the room and sees Wombosi's sleeping children, including one child in Wombosi's lap, awake and looking at Bourne. Stricken with an attack of conscience over executing a man in front of his children, Bourne tries to leave the boat, but is shot twice in the back by one of Wombosi's bodyguards. Before jumping overboard, Bourne loses consciousness and is discovered by the fishermen. So, here's where we play catch-up in the film. You know, and I like the way they did this, though. This was something to where, okay, the first part of the film, you're like, what the hell's going on, like we said before. Now we're like, oh, so that's how it happened.
Still doesn't kind of explain how he lost his memory, though. I mean, yeah, he was shot, but...
Well, if you were shot in the back and you got knocked unconscious and you had been lying in a large ocean for 2 weeks, you know, I don't know. I don't know. So Bourne tells Conklin that he is leaving Treadstone and warns him to not try to follow him. Conklin reveals that he has a radio in his pocket transmitting. After knocking Conklin unconscious, Bourne leaves Nikki unharmed as has a shootout in the stairwell with several CIA officers and escapes into the night. Abbott decides that Treadstone should be closed down for good and has Mannheim assassinate Conklin Abbott goes before an oversight committee and explains Treadstone is an ineffective assassin training program, and then immediately shifts focus of the hearing to an idea for a new project codenamed Blackbriar. Sometime later, Jason finds Marie renting out scooters to tourists in Greece, and the two reunite. What did you think of these final scenes?
Well, I love how he finally remembered everything that was going on, because obviously it ties up the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like how Brian Cox's character assassinated the other guy that he was cohorts with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We should also mention there is an alternate opening and alternate ending on the DVD. The opening originally started in Greece with Bourne's he's searching for something. I forget. It's on the DVD here. And the alternate ending was again he's actually waking up in Greece to Abbott and you know they're talking about the program and stuff like that. I like the fact that they ended the movie the way they did instead of using the alternate ending and opening, because it's a lot better with the actual one they used. Overall, I really enjoyed this first film. I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. I think the story was really well involved. The action was just great. The car chases, the gunfights, the guy jumping to his death, and all that kind of stuff there. What did you think?
I really liked the movie. I would have to say I'd give it a 9 as well. It was a great role played by Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Definitely opened up many doors for him, as well as for more action films and more Bourne series.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. But it was really cool how they portrayed his character, had him how it started out with him with no memory, with getting most of it back by the end of the movie, if not all, as well as seeing the old project kind of die, or so it may seem.
Yeah, I actually, when I rewatched it this past week, because I hadn't seen Identity in a long time, because I won't watch it on cable. I just can't. It's not the same as actually watching the actual film, because cable they cut for time, plus they cut all the cursing out and everything else, which is fine. That's what they have to do. But I saw this Bourne 3-pack in Target, and I said, okay, well, I have Ultimatum on DVD, but I don't have the other two. And they didn't have the other two individually, so I said, screw it. It's only $20. I'll get it. And I completely forgot that at the end that Abbott mentioned Blackbriar, which will come back up in the second and third films. We've kind of already pretty much gone over the cast. You got Matt Damon, you got the chick that played Marie, Chris Cooper, Brian Cox, Clive Owen, Gabriel Mann, who he played Danny Zorn, he's Conklin's assistant and a key member of Operation Treadstone's control team. Gabriel Mann, he's also the only other place I've really seen him. He was Freddie Prinze Jr.'s best friend in Summer Catch, which is another really good film that we'll get to eventually. And then, of course, Julia Stiles as Nikki Parsons, which I believe I would probably have to go back and correct myself on this, but I believe that this was the first role I had seen Julia Stiles in since 10 Things I Hate About You, which I believe was her debut film. I'm not really going to go over the production, even though I put it in the script. It's very, very long. I will say that this final part of the production here, the inner workings of the fictitious Treadstone organization were inspired by Doug Lyman's father's job in the National Security Agency under President Ronald Reagan. Of particular inspiration were Lyman's father's memoirs regarding his involvement in the investigation of the Iran-Contra affair. Many aspects of the Alexander Conklin character were based on his father's recollections of Oliver North. Lyman admitted that he had jettisoned much of the content of the novel beyond the central premise in order to modernize the material to conform it to his own beliefs regarding United States foreign policy. However, Lyman was careful not to cram his political views down the audience's throat. There were initial concerns regarding the film's possible obsolescence, overall reception, and aftermath of the September 11th attacks, but these concerns proved groundless. The reception for it was largely positive, with the film review collection website Rotten Tomatoes giving the film 83% approval rating. Roger Ebert gave the film a 3 stars out of 4, praised it for its ability to absorb the viewer in its spy craft and Damon's ability to be focused and sincere. And it actually, I think all three films were either nominated or won awards. It won for ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards, top box office films. It was nominated for Best Action Adventure Thriller Film. It won for Outstanding Achievement in a Fight Choreographic. And then it was nominated for Feature Film Contemporary Films. There are 2 sequels. There have been several different DVD releases. Obviously, you have single disc for each film, and then of course they eventually started putting them into collections. Putting them together like they would normally do. It does have a soundtrack. Let's see. The official soundtrack score was released on June 11, 2002. Contains selections of music composed by prolific composer John Powell, and was performed by the Hollywood Studio Symphony. In addition to the score, the film also featured the song "Extreme Ways" by Moby, and Southern Sun and Ready Steady Go by Paul Oakenfold. The soundtrack won an ASCAP award. I think we're going to move on to the next film.
Yes.
Do you have any other thoughts on this one?
Great movie, must buy and see.
Yes, must buy and must see. All right, we'll be right back.
Guy with pieces to a jigsaw puzzle.
I told you people I was finished.
I even feel somebody behind me. I will bring this fight to your doorstep.
Take him down.
I understand.
He's doing exactly what he said he'd do.
He's coming for us.
What did I say?
Trace it.
Where is he?
Right next to you.
The Bourne Supremacy, rated PG-13.
We are back, and we're going to move on to the Bourne Supremacy, which is a 2004 spy mystery thriller film loosely based on the Robert Ludlum novel of the same name. The film was directed by Paul Greengrass, written by Tony Gilroy and Brian Helgeland, I don't know how to pronounce that name, whatever, and produced by Doug Lyman and Frank Marshall. Universal Pictures released the film to theaters in the United States on July 23, 2004, and it received a positive, critical, and public reaction similar to its predecessor, The Bourne Identity. The film was followed by a 2007 sequel entitled The Bourne Ultimatum. The Bourne Supremacy continues the story of Jason Bourne, an amnesiac former CIA assassin who suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder due to his past experiences. Bourne is portrayed by Matt Damon. The film focuses on his attempt to learn more of his shadowy past as he is once more enveloped in a conspiracy surrounding the CIA and Operation Treadstone. The film also stars the chick that plays Marie, Brian Cox as Ward Abbott, Joan Allen as Pamela Landy, and Julia Stiles as Nikki Parsons. When did you first see this one?
Actually, as soon as I rented the first one, my wife and I decided to go back out and rent the second one, so watched them right after.
Yeah.
Of course, we own all three now with the 3-pack that you've got as well, but I saw it pretty much just right after the first one.
Yes. So we're going to get right into the plot for this one. 2 years after the events in the Bourne Identity, Bourne and his girlfriend Marie Kreutz are living in Goa, India. Bourne is beginning to recover some of his memories, and he is troubled by disjointed flashbacks of an assassination he carried out in a Berlin hotel. Meanwhile, in Berlin, a CIA officer under the deputy director, Pamela Landy, is trading $3 million for the Nesky files, documents about the theft of $20 million from CIA 7 years earlier. During the exchange, a Russian assassin named Kirill arrives to intercept the selling. He plants 2 bombs in the basement, on the basement electrical circuit, one on the main and the other on the subline, with Jason Bourne's fingerprint. The bomb on the main line kills the power, while Kirill kills the agent in the source and steals the files and the money, which gives to a Russian oil magnate, Yuri Gretkov. Kirill then travels to Goa to kill Bourne, but Bourne flees with Marie. As Bourne and Marie are driving away, Kirill fires a sniper rifle at the car that kills Marie, and the car veers off the bridge thereon into a river. Kirill leaves, believing that he killed Bourne. After escaping the car submerged underwater, he tries to give Marie mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. After several unsuccessful attempts, he realizes that Marie is dead and begins to cry underwater. Bourne manages to swim away undetected. He then burns all of Marie's passports and pictures, except for one picture showing both of them in an embrace. He also clears the house they lived in, taking all of the notes that Bourne used to dictate his dreams. Bourne travels to Italy to learn why he is again being targeted. What did you think of the opening of this one?
That was freaking crazy. Like, again, it's like, although the other one started slow without his memory, this one just, boom, right away, fast-paced.
Yeah.
Jumps right back into the storyline, though.
Yeah. That's the good thing about the second and the third. As good as the first film is, that's the good thing about the second and third one. This one picks up, even though it picks up 2 years after, at the end of this, when we get to Ultimatum a little bit later on today, it picks up 20 minutes after the second film ended. So that's one of the great things about the second and third one. After Landy's team finds the planted fingerprint and determines that it is linked to the CIA's secret Treadstone project, Landy flies to CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, to find out more information. In Virginia, she learns that it is Bourne's fingerprint, but CIA Chief Ward Abbott claims he does not know Bourne's whereabouts. Landy tells Abbott that the CIA agent who is believed to have stolen the $20 million was named in the stolen files. A Russian politician, Vladimir Nevsky, was going to identify the thief, but before he could do so, he was murdered by his wife in a Berlin hotel, who then committed suicide. Landy believes Bourne killed the CIA officer in the source in Berlin, so Abbott and Landy set out to capture him. After the initial first scene, when it gets to this one, I knew from the first film that the character of Abbott was a sleaze. I pretty much guessed that he was the one behind everything, as far as all the stuff that has been going. I mean, just seeing this scene, you can tell this ain't a good guy.
Yeah. Well, see, in most of the movies that he acts in, he always plays, like, this typical type character that's always, like, for instance, in X-Men 2, he was the same character.
Right.
And Super Troopers was different. That was just... Yeah,
you can't count Super Troopers.
Yeah, he wasn't...
He was a good guy in Super Troopers.
Yeah, he was a good guy in Super Troopers, but most of his other roles that he seems to play seem to have, like, this hidden agenda mixed in with it, and
very much so.
Like he's about to go out after everybody else, make it look like he's the good guy, even though he really knows the truth.
Yep. Very, very much so. I completely agree. So when Bourne arrives in Naples, Italy, he is detained by an Italian officer and CIA interrogator, but Bourne, without trying, incapacitates the two men, and after copying the agent's SIM card onto his own cell phone, escapes. This allows Bourne to listen in on a call from Landy. He learns her name and her phone number, and finds out that he is suspected in a recent killing in Berlin. He steals a car and heads to Munich. I think that's...
I think it's Munich.
Munich, whatever. I don't care. He interrogates the last remaining Treadstone agent, Jarda, who tells him that the project was shut down Following Conklin's death, they have a struggle which Bourne emerges victorious by strangling Jarda. He creates a leak in the house's natural gas valve and puts a magazine into the toaster to create an explosion that slows down the police and allows Jason to escape. Landy and Abbott intercept and debrief Nicky Parsons, Treadstone's handler in Paris. Bourne arranges to meet Nicky, whom he interrogates. He learns that Abbott was the head of Treadstone, not Conklin. Upon hearing their conversation over Nicky's transmitter, Landy begins to believe that Bourne is being framed. When Abbott's young associate, Danny Zorn, tells Abbott that he thinks Bourne was framed, along with having evidence to prove he was, Abbott kills him to silence this information. Bourne goes back to the Brecker Hotel in Berlin and remembers more about the Nesky mission. He was sent to kill Nesky on Conklin's orders, and when Nesky's wife unexpectedly showed up, he shot both of them and made it look like a murder-suicide. Bourne then learns that Abbott and Gretkov stole the money and that Abbott had ordered Kirill to kill Bourne. He also learns of the murder of the agents by Kirill and the planted fingerprint. These scenes here, this movie is very fast-paced once it gets to this point.
Oh yeah, you have to really be paying attention or you're going to miss a lot of information. This is exactly why when I go to the, which is very rare now, but when I go to the theater to watch a movie, this is exactly why I don't buy drinks or I don't bring drinks with me, because I don't want to have to go to the bathroom and miss something, you know. Yeah.
But, you know, and again, just the sheer viciousness of the way Abbott killed Zorn, you know, it's like, what the hell is he doing? And then, of course, you realize that obviously, as we said before, he is the true villain here. And I like how that Bourne and Nicky's relationship is their friendship relation. He trusts her, but he doesn't really, even though she is trying to help him. And we'll get to that once we get to the third film, because pretty much she is the leading lady once it gets to the third film. So out of respect for Marie's belief in non-violence, Bourne spares Abbott's life. After Zorn's body is discovered, Landy confronts Abbott, who commits suicide. Landy later receives the tape Bourne recorded, which implicates Abbott in the conspiracy. Bourne travels to Moscow, where he is shot and wounded by Kirill. After an extended car chase, Bourne forces Kirill's car to crash into a concrete divider. In a tunnel, Kirill is shown to be extensively injured and incapacitated. Bourne approaches the car to finish him off, but instead pauses for a moment. The raw emotion etched on Bourne's normally robotic face implies that Marie has softened him, and he no longer wants to fight anymore. He just wants to be done with the mess thrust on him. He walks away from the car and critically wounded Kirill, who presumably dies. This is later confirmed in the next film, where Marie's brother asks if Bourne killed him. Gretkov is arrested by Russian police after Landy provides them with evidence she got from Bourne. Bourne goes to the apartment of Vladimir Nevsky's daughter, so she won't have to live thinking her mother killed her father. He admits that he killed them both on a mission gone wrong, and apologizes. Tells her that she deserves to know the truth, because when the one you love is taken from you, the knowledge that they didn't want to leave you changes the way you remember them. The final scene, which actually takes place during the events of the next film, The Bourne Ultimatum, in which it is shown, jumps to New York City, where Bourne contacts Landy to ask her why the CIA is still looking for him. After Landy thanks Bourne for supplying the tape, which the CIA has used to settle matters concerning his frame-up, she tells Bourne that his real name is David Webb. His birth date is April 15th, 1971, and his place of birth is Nixia, Missouri. Bourne declines Landy's offer to come back to the CIA offices in person, and he fades to a crowded street scene. What did you think of these final scenes here?
Well, I loved how they wrapped it all up and showed what happened to Abbott finally ruining his grand scheme and in his conquest of the whole, trying to take everything else over. It shows that Landy is just somebody doing their job and, actually isn't a cold bastard like Abbott is.
Yes, and we get another cold bastard in the third film. But anyway, I like the way this one ended. I like the way that that he's got more closure to his life as far as him remembering. I think the fact that just the way that they filmed for Abbott shooting himself was just amazing. Because, they go in there, because they already have the tape. They go in there, and he doesn't even, I don't even think, he might have said like one or two words to Landy, but just as soon as that happens, boom, he's dead. I like the fact that they're going, what was it that was said here? He goes to apologize to the daughter. What this synopsis kind of leaves out is at the end, he is not, it does fade out into a crowded street scene, but what they fail to mention in this plot synopsis is that he is actually on the roof of an opposing building looking at her office through a sniper scope. Because there was the scene earlier where he was looking through the exact same thing as far as, finding her and seeing Nikki next to her. And he goes, well, find the agent that was in Paris. And, I don't know, it's going to be difficult. It shouldn't be too difficult. She's standing right next to you. And then she turns around and looks at the other buildings outside the window. So I thought that was really, really cool that they ended on that scene.
Love that, how he just plays it off.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Going over the cast really quick, of course, we have Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, Joan Allen as Pamela Landy, Brian Cox, Julia Stiles, let's see, who else is, you got Gabriel Mann again as Danny Zorn. That's really all the ones that are really, I think, that are worth mentioning. The reaction for this one, I actually didn't get any of the production stuff for this because it was too extensive. The Bourne Supremacy grossed $500,217. Reviews on internet critic sites suggest that overall positive disposition towards the film. Though the film was criticized for its shaky camera work, which made various action scenes difficult to see, and often criticized stylistic choice which carries on with the Bourne Ultimatum. However, some reviewers have said that it gives a gritty, realistic feel. Despite these criticisms, Rotten Tomatoes scores the film at 82%. At the 2005 Tourist World Stunt Awards, veteran Russian stunt coordinator Viktor Ivanov won Best Vehicle Award for his driving in the Moscow car chase scene. That's something we have to bring up, is the Moscow car chase scene. Never. I could be wrong, but I believe it was said as far as this film. Moscow has never let any film company into their city, into Russia, to clear a street for a whole day for a car chase scene like that.
Yeah.
That car chase scene was so awesome. The DVD contains an alternate ending for the film. It has Bourne collapsing in the Moscow park after confessing to Nevsky's daughter, waking up in a hospital and being told his real name by Landy before he escapes. Which I didn't know. I don't think the alternate ending is on the. Is it? No? Huh? It's not on this DVD set that I have. I don't know. Overall, I guess we're going to the awards here. It was nominated for nominated for 8. Oh, crap, there's tons of them. Nominated for over 10 awards. It won 3 awards. There is a soundtrack for it. I don't have any information. I've just got the fact that there is one there. Overall, this second film, I would give probably an 8 or a 9. I'd probably have to say a 9, just because of the Moscow car chase scene, just how cool that was, is not something you will ever see a lot for actual filming it in an actual place. What did you think overall for Supremacy?
Overall, it was a really good, fast-paced movie. Like you said, the car chase scene is really awesome. The fact they finally got rid of Abbott is awesome.
Yes.
Landy is a pretty cool character as well. Not cold and calculating like Abbott, but just somebody trying to do their job properly, as well as having a conscience about what she does.
Yes, very much.
And trying to uncover the whole Treadstone conspiracy.
Yes, yes.
So overall, it's a great movie. I'd give it as well, like an 8 or a 9, probably, like you said, a 9. The whole series overall is really awesome.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So we are going to move into the final film, which is Bourne Ultimatum. We will be right back.
Jason Bourne is at large in New York City.
This holiday,
We're going mobile.
Let's look sharp.
Bourne comes home to DVD.
I was wondering when you called.
Where are you now?
I'm sitting in my office.
I doubt that.
If you were in your office, we'd be having this conversation face to face. They can't stop me.
The Bourne Ultimatum.
Finally, up today is The Bourne Ultimatum, a 2007 spy film directed by Paul Greengrass, loosely based on the Robert Ludlum novel of the same name. The film is a sequel to the Bourne Supremacy and the third film of the Bourne series. Stars Matt Damon reprising his role as Ludlum's signature character, amnesiac CIA assassin Jason Bourne. The film continues the saga of Jason Bourne as he escapes from authorities in Moscow, Russia, and follows the character as he travels to Paris, London, Madrid, Tangier, and New York City to uncover his real identity, while the CIA continues to send assassins after him. Excuse me. The film co-starred Julia Stiles, David Strathmore, Scott Glenn, Patty Constantine, Edgar Ramirez, Albert Finney, and Joan Allen. The script was written by Tony Gilroy, and the producers were Patrick Crowley, Frank Marshall, Paul Sandberg, and Doug Lyman, who directed the first Bourne movie, The Bourne Identity. Getting right into the plot here, this movie begins before the end of the events in the Bourne Supremacy, as Bourne, wounded by a gunshot from a Russian assassin, Kirill, is evading the Moscow police. He escapes. 6 weeks later, Simon Ross, a security correspondent for The Guardian, meets with someone in Turin to discuss Treadstone. Bourne meets Ross at Waterloo Station in London after having read Ross's article in The Guardian that went into detail about Bourne, Treadstone, and Operation Blackbriar. Which, again, I'm going to stop there because I didn't really know. I mean, I got from the second film that, I completely forgot about the fact that Abbott in the first film mentioned Blackbriar at the end. I mean, I know that he mentioned Treadstone, but I was truly, truly shocked when he mentioned Blackbriar at the end of Identity, because I'd remembered hearing about that in this film. As Ross is told by Bourne to meet him at London Waterloo Station in London, CIA officer Noah Volsum orders Paz, an assassin, to go after Ross, but intervention by Bourne stops that. Thinking that Bourne is the source, Volsum orders Paz to kill both Bourne and Ross. In the moment of panic, Ross runs into view of Paz's sniper rifle and is shot dead in ensuing chaos. Bourne slips unknown notice and takes Ross's notes and discovers that his source for the article was Neil Daniels, the Madrid CIA station chief. What did you think of these beginning scenes here?
I like how it was weird. I like how Bourne is still, shown a little bit hurt. I mean, even though he's not totally.
Well, he did get shot in the leg.
Yeah.
So.
But he's still, he's still trucking.
Yeah.
or walking.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Obviously. But, yeah, I mean, it's weird that he's still being hunted, even though there's really not a reason for him to be.
Oh, yes, there is. Because of the whole Ross thing, because of this whole reporter thing. Ross has this source, which is Neil Daniels, who is the station chief, which has all the Blackbriar files.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he wants to get his hands on that, but...
Well, that's why he's hunted, because he eventually, as we'll go along down in the synopsis here, he eventually gets all these files, and it links everybody. It links Vosen, it links the CIA director, it links a whole bunch of people.
Including his own role in the whole project.
Yes. The CIA also discovers that Ross's source was Daniels and sends a team out to raid his office. Bourne arrives first and finds nothing as Daniels has already left. He subdues the CIA team. As they storm the office, Nikki Parsons then arrives, and she gives the all-clear to Vosen and Deputy Director Pamela Landy, giving both her and Bourne time to escape, whilst the second team meant to arrest Bourne is captured by the Spanish police. Parsons tells Bourne that Daniels is in Tangier, and the two of them take the ferry to the Moroccan port. On arrival, Parsons logs in to find the CIA has assigned Desh Kami Bukhani to assassinate Daniels. Desh is given further orders to kill Parsons after Daniels. Bourne attempts to stop Desh, but Desh successfully detonates a bomb that kills Daniels. As Desh attempts to kill Parsons, Bourne attacks and strangles him after a long and brutal fight. Bourne has Parsons die and cut her hair, much as he did with me, and then he puts her on a bus to escape. This whole apartment scene, and coming face to face with Nikki again, I thought that was really very well done. The whole thing with them sending Desh after them, I thought that was really cool. How they did that scene in the streets of Tangier. What did you think of this part?
It was weird. He, still, for some reason keeps running into Nikki Parsons. I mean, yeah, she's got information that she wants to give him too, so I mean that's going to help him out.
Well, no, go ahead. I'll say it after. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's just funny how they keep trying to hunt him down, even though he's pretty much like the unkillable killing machine. Yeah,
very much so. But we have to point out that he doesn't want to kill anymore. He only does it for obviously self-defense reasons. I mean, he's not one of their programmed assassins anymore. He's not going out there just to kill somebody for the hell of it.
No, he wants to expose them and protect himself from and know who he's going to be up against.
Exactly. And as far as Parsons goes, as I said before, Julia Stiles pretty much stepped up in this film because they killed Marie in the last one. She pretty much stepped up and became the leading lady. And there are actually scenes in this film where she's like, do you remember anything? And, she's got this look on her face like it alludes to, before the whole Treadstone thing, or right when it began or something, that they could have possibly had a relationship before Bourne lost his memory. So I liked it the way that they're doing that as far as bringing that into it.
So he's a babe magnet as well as an assassin.
Landy and Bourne meet at the Treadstone R&D facility. Landy begins faxing the documents to an unknown receiver. Holy crap, we have to cut that out. Oh, Jesus Christ. While Bourne goes downstairs to find his past, he meets Dr. Albert Hirsch, who ran Treadstone's psychological conditioning program. Bourne was their first experimental conditioning subject. With Hirsch's help, Bourne remembers that he volunteered for the program and killed a man in the same room. CIA agents break in and start shooting. Bourne escapes and jumps into the East River as Vosen tries to shoot him. Images of Bourne's unmoving body floating in the river are interspersed with images of Nikki watching a news report. Sometime later, noting the exposure of Blackbriar and arrest of Hirsch and Vosen in a newsflash that Ezra Kramer is the subject of the United States Senate hearing regarding the conduct that David Webb, alias Jason Bourne, was shot and fell into the East River, but his body has not been recovered, even after a 3-day search, at which point Nikki smiles, realizing that Bourne is still alive. In the final moments of the film, Bourne's limp, drifting body springs to life, and he is shown swimming away in the East River. This is exactly why I love this film, the way that this ended. And this is why I think this is the best one out of these three. And I kind of have to go back. They send him, or somehow between Bourne and Landy's communication, they send the agents to find an address there, which is a code for something else, when Bourne is actually getting into the office of Vosum. And I love that scene where Bourne calls him, and he's like, so where, I'm sitting in my office, and Bourne's like, I highly doubt that. Why would you doubt that? Because if you were sitting in your office, we would be having this conversation face to face. Click.
Yeah, I know, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was so hilarious. And then at the end, it's like, at first I was like, wait, it's like at the very end after he jumps in the river, I'm like, wait, is that it? You gotta be kidding me. No, they can't end it like that. So I sat there in the theater, because I originally saw this in theaters. Sat there in the theater, I'm like, okay, come on. And then the Moby music of Extreme Ways kicks up, and then Jason starts swimming away. What did you think of these final scenes here?
I love the part where he dropped in the river and they're talking about it, and all of a sudden at the very last thing you see him, wake up and then start swimming away.
Yep.
That was like quite possibly one of the best endings you could have had to this saga.
Oh yes, very much so. Very, very much so.
This would be my favorite movie as well, I'd have to say, just because all the wrapping ups, but yet still leaving it open, as well as having that pretty funny yet twisted ending.
Yeah, I don't understand why this film, I believe it got some negative reviews, I'm not really sure. Trying to see here, production, music, release, where the hell are the reviews? The Bourne Ultimatum earned $69.3 million during its opening weekend at the box office, a record for a single opening in August. And $441.2 million worldwide as of December 14th, 2007. As of March 2009, the film garners a 93% certified fresh rating, 203 positive out of 203 positive out of 218 reviews total at Rotten Tomatoes, higher than either predecessor. The film had a rating of 85 out of 100 on Metacritic, again higher than the first two films. At the end of its theatrical release, the film grossed a total of $227,471,070 in the U.S., making it the highest grossing film in the series. Like its predecessor, Bourne Supremacy, the film was criticized for its shaky camera work, as Richard Corliss of Time magazine, an otherwise positive review, wondered why in the chat scenes in the camera is afflicted with Parkinson's. The film frame trembles, obscures the speaker with the listener's shoulder, and annoys views and distracts them from content of the scene. In the British press, the inclusion of a fictional journalist from the real British paper, The Guardian, the scenes set in the United Kingdom, particularly Waterloo Railway Station, were commented upon. In particular, that newspaper's reviewer noted that dodging bullets from a CIA sniper is the sort of thing which happens to us Guardian journalists all the time. Yeah, okay, right. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's friggin' ridiculous. It's made several top 10 lists. The film appeared in several critics' top 10 lists as the best films of 2007. First, number one was on Empire. Another number one was on Best Action Adventure, Rotten Tomatoes. Second on USA Today. Second on Philadelphia Inquirer. Second on Time Out New York. Ninth on Miami Herald. And 10th by the Associated Press. I believe the film won Academy Awards in all three, second highest number awards at the ceremony, behind No Country for Old Men of its nominations in the 80th Academy Awards. There's sequels, obviously. Prior to the release of Bourne Ultimatum, Matt Damon claimed he would not be interested in returning for a fourth Bourne film, stating of his participation in the Bourne franchise, "We have ridden that horse as far as we can." Damon even said that in an interview on The Daily Show, the director Paul Greengrass joked that the fourth film could be titled The Bourne Redundancy. Nonetheless, the financial and critical success of Bourne Ultimatum has led to speculation on several magazines and internet forums that another Bourne film might be produced. On February 22nd, 2008, Variety reported that the fourth film was indeed in the works, with both Damon and Greengrass on board. This was confirmed on June 25th, 2008 by producers Frank Marshall and Pat Crowley at an interview with IESB.net. Marshall said that hopefully they will be shooting in the summer of 2010 for release in 2011. Our favorite anti-hero is apparently headed to South America. On October 16, 2008, it was announced that George Nolfi would write the script, with Frank Marshall producing and Jeffrey Weiner and Henry Morrison executive producing. Matt Damon, Julia Stiles, Joan Allen, and Paul Greengrass are also attached to the film. Which, again, as we said before, it's great that they're doing that. I mean, I understand, doing a role for three films over, 2002, 2004, 2007, over like 8 years or whatever. I realize doing the same character and not feeling you can take it any further. I get the fact that Matt Damon felt like that, but at the same time, stories arise. I mean, supposedly, as you said, there are three more books, so it would be nice to have this as a 6-part series, not just like a Star Wars type thing where you have the first three, then you have the second three. So, what are your final thoughts on the overall franchise?
Well, as for the first one where he's floating in the river, again, they echo that in the final one.
Yeah.
It's awesome that they have taken it as far as they have. It'd be great to see them do another one, yet if they don't, then, so be it. But overall, it's a great series, must own, must be, and definitely one of my favorite action movies of all time.
Oh yes, these are very good action films. I actually must bring up as I said before, I didn't have the first two films when they first came out on DVD, so I got that 3-box set. But before I did that, when I first heard that Ultimatum was coming out and that Best Buy was going to have a limited edition exclusive, it's basically a steelbook edition, which actually has two special bonus features that the other Bourne Ultimatum ones don't have. One is big city action, see what it took to put together the most intense car chase, which was the one, I believe, in New York, where he gets in, I believe it was an Audi, he gets in it, and he has to drive it off the parking garage roof. That was an awesome scene right there. And then the second exclusive bonus feature is the evolution of Nick. You find out more about the only character who has been through it all with Jason Bourne. So I'm glad I have that. Yeah, it was probably silly of me to get this 3-pack, but, at least I have the other two films. And as I said before, I couldn't find them separately, so I'm glad I have this as well, just to have it. So I think that pretty much wraps up M-Wire this week.
Yep.
So we're going to go into the closing. Thank you for joining us here on Movie Week in Review. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. The first is you can visit www.geekcastradio.com and find all the other GCRN podcasts there. Just a little side note on that, we've been, I should say, the webmaster over there has been doing a ton of stuff. We now have online web streaming on the site. We also have a toolbar, which you can get on the site as well, so that way you don't have to actually stay on the site to stream. There is an MP3 player in the toolbar with, I think, all of our episodes from almost every show that we do so far. Correct?
Yeah, there's on the toolbar there's a stream of every show that we've done. I believe it updates from the RSS feed. There's a link on it for the forums, for our Facebook page, as well as all the GCRN Twitter accounts and some of the hosts, namely you, me, PK and Court Michael, and Boss K Dog.
Okay, cool.
But for the most part, it links to everywhere, including the GCRN website. That's a great alternative to either downloading through RSS, iTunes, downloading the file directly from the Geekcast site, or streaming it from that specific area on the website, so you can listen and surf on the go.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a really good addition to the network and to the website, because as I said to you before off air, I know there are some people that don't want to fill up their hard drive space with podcast downloads, and you know that's just another way to expand the network. As we said with the toolbar, you can go to PredicateEmpire.com/CafeSpark and get all your GCRN Transformers discussion topics there. The third is you can leave the show feedback on iTunes. Now, I must say, pretty much all of our other shows except for Geekcast Radio and this show have reviews. So hopefully there are people listening to MWire. Hopefully we're not doing this just to hear ourselves talk. So please, go leave us, even if you don't want to write anything, just leave us star feedback. You don't have to write anything if you don't want to, but just leave us, preferably 5-star feedback. That's the best way to help the show out on iTunes. The fourth is you can visit earth-2.net forums to find our threads over there under the self-promotion section. And the fifth is the email address, which is gcrnmwire@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. The show name there is GCRNMWire. Mine is TFU and Mike. And what is your Twitter, sir?
SCP-21.
That's right. We hope you enjoyed this episode of MWire and wish that you will join us next time when we will start the reviews of the Marvel Spotlight. This is a 2-month-long, 8-week Marvel Spotlight on all the Marvel films. The next episode we're going to be featuring the X-Men franchise. For now, I am TFG1 Mike with
Steve Megatron Phillips.
Saying the more words of Elizabeth Shue, don't fuck with the babysitter. And thank you for listening. Until next time.